importance of intonation in English. Now, today morning, I was able to give you a list of words, a long list. I mean, I got it from the YouTube, and you can always get it from the dictionary, uh, whereby you can see that word stress or accent is very, very important in English. As far as my knowledge goes, in Indian languages like Bengali or Hindi, stress is not very important. In almost all Indian languages, like Bengali or Hindi, stress is not very important. That's why Bengali or Hindi are called syllable timed languages. In fact, as far my knowledge goes, almost all Indian languages are called syllable timed language. On the other hand, English is a stress timed language. Now, what is the difference? Before I delve into word stress, let me tell you the difference between a syllable timed language and a stress timed language. In Bengali, when you speak Bengali or Hindi, we give equal emphasis or stress on all the syllables of a word, on all the syllables of a sentence. So if it is a continuous speech, if it is a long sentence, we tend to give almost equal stress or accent on all the syllables of a word, and when the word is used in a continuous sense, I mean in a sentence. Almost. But in English, it is slightly different. In English, it is slightly different. In English, we give accent or stress on some words or syllables, and sometimes we do not give accent or stress on some of the words, on some of the syllables. So this is a very great shift, a very great difference between, let us say, Bengali and English. In Bengali, once again, I repeat, in Bengali, all words, all syllables of the words in a sentence are given equally, are given equal, almost equal stress or accent when you speak. But when it comes to English, we naturally and spontaneously tend to give more emphasis on some words, on some syllables, and less emphasis on some of the syllables. Now, this makes English very special, especially for we people, because English is a foreign language for all of us. It is not our mother tongue. It is not our mother tongue. So when we speak our mother tongue, we give equal emphasis on all the syllables. And when we speak English, we should also see to it that we do not give equal stress to all the syllables of a sentence. This makes English speaking rather difficult for Indian speakers, for Indian people. Now, I will just begin with a very simple sentence. You can note it down and practice it on your own at home. I am going to the market. I am going to the market. Now, when a Bengali people, when a Bengali person, when an Indian speaks this sentence, he or she will speak it this way: I am going to the market. That means we Bengalis tend to give equal emphasis or stress on all the syllables of the sentence. I am going to the market. But an Englishman, a native speaker of English, will not speak it this way. He will speak it differently. How will an Englishman speak or utter this sentence? I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. So you see the difference between my uttering the sentence in the first place, I am going to the market, And the British speaker, a native speaker of English, will speak it this way: I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. So you see, what is happening is that in the first place, in the first sentence that I'm speaking, I'm going to the market, I'm giving equal emphasis or stress on all the syllables of the entire sentence, of the sentence. It's a declarative sentence. But that is not how English should be spoken. English is not spoken the Bengali way, or the Nepali way, or the Hindi way. English is spoken, English has to be spoken the English way. So the native speaker of English, a Briton, will speak it this way: I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. Now you see what is happening in the second sentence is that the native speaker of English, the British person who is speaking the same sentence, is trying to, or is rather swallowing many of the syllables of the sentence. Instead of I am, a Bengali will speak I and am both very clearly and distinctly, because of our mother tongue influence, because of the influence of our mother tongue Bengali. So I will speak, or we usually speak I am, but a British person, a native speaker of English, will speak it am. So he is swallowing am, which has got a very prominent vowel sound. Instead of that, he will say am. Going to the market, going to the market, going to the market. So you just tend to hear, you only get to hear go. Ing is almost swallowed. Going is a disyllabic word. The word going has got two syllables, go and ing, and the later part of the syllable, the later syllable, the former syllable is pronounced go, ing is swallowed. I'm going to the market. And to and the, to is a preposition, the is an article, to and the are swallowed, are eaten up by the British person. When a Bengali speaks a sentence, I am going to the market, it is spoken the Bengali way. I'm not saying this is an incorrect sentence. Linguistically or syntactically, this sentence is correct. I am going to the market. This sentence is correct in terms of syntax. Syntactically, this sentence is correct. But phonetically, this sentence is incorrect. Because the Bengali person speaking this sentence is giving equal emphasis, equal stress on all the syllables of the sentence. It has to be spoken this way. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. So you see, what is happening is that I, go, and ma. These are the syllables that are prominent in the sentence. And the rest of the syllables like ing, to, and the, and ket, the rest of the syllables are not so very prominent. So therein lies the difference between syllable-timed language like Bengali and a stress-timed language like English. So from this example, I'm trying to show you that stress or accent is very, very important in English, and it may not be so important in Bengali. In Bengali or in other Indian languages, stress and accent are not very important because all syllables are given almost equal emphasis or stress in Bengali or Hindi or Nepali. But in English, you tend to give more stress or accent on some syllables and less on some other syllables. The basic rule or the general rule is that all nouns, verbs, adjectives, or we can also say meaning-carrying words, Like in this sentence, I am going to the market, I, go, ma. These are the words which are the basic words in the sentence. The meaning-carrying words. The meaning-carrying words usually take stress in spoken English. And the grammatical words like to, the, going in. Do not take stress in continuous speech. So affixes, prefixes, affixes include both. Now coming to the list of words, today morning I gave you a list of words to show how important accent is in English. I have given a long list. I got it downloaded from the net. The list is very long. I cannot different from one another. If you put the stress on the first syllable, ob, the meaning is something different. The moment you shift the stress to the second syllable of the word, ject, the meaning is changing. Now this is very interesting. With the same spelling, with the same pronunciation, with the same phonemic transcription, you can get two words. The spelling is the same, the pronunciation is the same, the phonemic transcription is the same, but these are two different words. One is object, object, object. This is my object. You have a book in your hand. You have a book in your hand and you claim something like this. This is an object. This is an object. So it's a noun because you are putting the stress on the first syllable. When you put the stress or the accent on the first syllable, the meaning is different. It's a commodity. It's a commodity. This is an object. This is an object. But the moment you shift the stress to the second syllable, the meaning changes. Let me give you an example. I object your proposal. I object your proposal. I object your decision. So the meaning changes. In the first example, object is a noun, it is a commodity, it is a book, a pen, whatever. In the second example, object, 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 with a shift in stress pattern, with a shift in the stress from the first syllable to the second syllable, the meaning changes. In the first case, it is a noun, a commodity, and in the second case, object. Object means objection. I resist you. So this way, this is something very interesting. Once again, that is very peculiar to English. Depending upon where you put the stress on the first syllable or on the second syllable, depending upon where you put the stress on, the meaning keeps changing. The list is long. I have given a very long list in permit. I have got a permit. That means the permission. It's a noun. I have got the permit to enter Bhutan. I have got the permit to enter Bhutan. I have got the permit to enter Bhutan. So with a stress on the per, it's a noun. I have got the permit with me to enter Bhutan. Now, if you shift the stress onto the second syllable, I permit you to go to the class. I permit you to go to the class. So it's a verb. And the meaning is different. The first one meaning is slightly different. It's a permit. And the second permit, with a shift in emphasis onto the second syllable, it becomes a verb and the meaning changes. The list is long. You have got a very long list. And I have given you a list. And there are other words apart from the list. This list is certainly not exhaustive. You just open any good dictionary at home, COD or ALD, and you will find, in the last class I told you that, we look up the dictionary for spelling, for meaning, as well as for pronunciation. But we also look up the dictionary for accent. Now, the list I have given you, it is given in the list. You can very clearly see it. Object. There is a marker on ob, or. Then it is called a primary stress. The primary stress comes at the head of a syllable. The primary stress comes at the head of a syllable. And there can be many stresses. There can be many accents in a multisyllabic word. Like university is a brilliant example. You check the word university at home, check both the pronunciation as well as the accent. Check both the pronunciation as well as the accent. University has got multiple accents because it is a pentasyllabic word, a word with more than 2 or 3 syllables, and you cannot put equal stress on all the syllables. Had it been Bengali or Hindi, you will put equal stress on all the syllables of university. But since English is English, university is English word, you have to put stress on some syllables of university and some syllables you will leave them unstressed. University. This is how it has to be pronounced. University, university, university. So you and for, these are the 2 syllables which stand out prominent in this word, in this pentasyllabic word, university, university, university. And in this word, there are primary stress and there is also secondary stress in this word. So I hope my students, you will henceforth, when you check the accent of a word, when you check the meaning of a word in the dictionary, you will also be very much careful about the accent, whether it is on the first syllable or on the second syllable. Sometimes it can also be on the third syllable, depending upon, there are rules for accent. I will not go into the details of the rules, depending upon the nature of the word, the form of the word, whether it is a noun or a verb or an adjective. So the accent or the shift or the stress will change. There is one more thing that I would like to tell you. The word absent, absent. He is absent from my class. He was absent from my class. Absent is adjective. Absent, absent. If you put the stress on the first syllable of absent, it is an adjective. Similarly with frequent, perfect, invalid, minute, and complex. These are some words that I could get hold of, where if you put the stress on the first syllable, absent, frequent, perfect, invalid, minute, complex. If you put the stress on the first syllable, these words remain adjectives. But the moment you shift the stress onto the second syllable of these words, they become verbs. Let me give an example with absent. Or with frequent, you can give a more beautiful example with a better example. He absented himself. He absented himself. So you see, he absented. He was absent. He was absent. It's an adjective. He absented. It becomes a verb. The moment you shift the stress onto the second syllable and make the sentence something like this, he absented himself from my class. He absented himself from the class. He deliberately absented himself from the class. So it becomes a verb. So once again, the list is already given. a couple of words are there in English where if you put the stress on the first syllable, they are nouns. And if you again shift on the stress onto the second syllable, they become verbs. Now, I will share with you a very interesting example. To show how accent is important in English. I gave you one example. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. So I'm certainly not giving emphasis or stress on all the syllables of this sentence. I'm swallowing some, eating up some of the syllables, and I am giving more emphasis on some of the syllables. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. Now, I will give you one more interesting example to show how accent is important in English. I just made one sentence. I shall tell you the sentence. John loves Ria. Now, this is a very short sentence. John loves Ria. John is a monosyllabic word. Loves or loves, third person singular. Loves is a monosyllabic word. With a single monosyllabic means a word having a single syllable. And Ria, I just chose this name, the name of a girl, a name of a woman, Ria, to show that it is also a monosyllabic word. It could be any other person. It could be Mary. You can just give any other name. But I just chose this name Ria, John and Ria, because both of them are monosyllables. John loves Ria. Now, when a Bengali will speak this word, supposedly, the Bengali speaker will give emphasis on all the syllables of the sentence. John loves Ria. Now, it is not incorrect. Syntactically, this sentence is not incorrect. That means grammatically, this sentence is okay. John loves Ria. When you write the sentence, it is perfectly all right. To speak the sentence, when you speak the sentence, you have to be very aware of where you are putting the emphasis on. Now, in this particular example, this example is brilliant because I think because it shows how accent is important in English, how accent is such an important thing in English. If you put the stress or accent on the first syllable, John loves Ria. You can speak it this way: John loves Ria. John loves Ria. Now, you see, sentences are not meant for classroom practices. Sentences are not meant for practices in the classroom or for exams. Sentences, whether in Bengali or English, are meant for using in social situations. All sentences in any language, whatever be our language, we speak sentences to communicate with our friends, relatives, anybody. It could be anybody. And we use them in a social context. So imagine that you are using this sentence in a social context. You have been to a party, to a marriage party, to a marriage ceremony, and you are speaking with your friends, your relatives, and you are speaking this sentence in front of your friends or relatives, elders, your grandparents, whatever. And you are required to utter this particular sentence. You are talking about John and Ria, two people whom you know pretty well, perhaps. And the people who are listening to you, they also know John and Ria very well. So depending upon where you put the accent, the meaning keeps changing. John loves Ria. Now in the first sentence, in this sentence, I am putting the emphasis or the stress on John. John loves Ria. John loves Ria. The meaning is something like this. It is John who loves Ria, not any other human being, not any other person. Now let us read the sentence, or let us speak the sentence by shifting the stress from John to loves. John loves Ria. John loves Ria. And the meaning changes. The sentence remains the same in written speech, in written words, in written language, in orthography, in other words. It's a flat sentence. It's a flat sentence, John loves Ria, in orthography. But in phonetic, you have to make a choice. There is no escape. You have to make a choice. You have to either put the stress on John, or love, or Ria. And depending upon where you put the stress on, the meaning keeps changing slightly, sometimes to a very great extent. Now, in the second sentence, if you put the emphasis on loves, John loves Ria, it means John does not hate Ria, John does not envy Ria, John loves Ria. John loves Ria. John loves Ria. John loves Ria. So, in the first sentence, you can just write the sentence and practice at home. Put the emphasis on John. John loves Ria. The second example, John loves Ria. John loves Ria. And the third sentence, or the third way of speaking the same sentence, would be something like this. John loves Ria. John loves Ria. Emphasis on Ria. So, syntactically, in terms of syntax, this is one single sentence, having one single structure. But semantically, this sentence has got three different meanings. In terms of syntax, in terms of grammar, this is one single sentence. John loves Ria. But depending upon how you use a sentence, I mean, you have to use a sentence in a social context, in a social situation. You can either speak it this way, John loves Ria. You can also speak it this way, John loves Ria. And lastly, you can speak it this way, John loves Ria. John loves Ria. So depending upon where you put the stress or emphasis in this particular sentence, the meaning keeps changing, shifting to some extent. Syntactically, this is one single sentence, but in terms of semantics, semantically, in terms of meaning, this sentence has got three different meanings depending upon where you put the stress on. Depending upon what you mean to say, depending upon what you mean to emphasize, you will have to give the shift accordingly. You have to give the stress accordingly, and accordingly the meaning will keep on shifting or changing depending upon the stress you put on. Do practice the sentence at home and see the effect. Because once again I repeat, in Bengali it is syllable timed, in English it is stress timed. So a native speaker of English has to make a choice. We Bengalis may speak it differently. We Bengalis may speak the same sentence, John loves Mary, giving emphasis on all the syllables, but it is not to be spoken that way. It is not to be spoken that way. That is not the correct way of speaking the English language. The native speaker of English automatically, quite spontaneously, he or she will either put the emphasis on John or loves or Mary, depending upon what he or she intends to say. The native speaker of English will not be neutral, cannot be neutral. He cannot just put accent on all the syllables of this short sentence. He will give emphasis either on John or loves or Ria, depending upon what he means to say. So this sentence, once again I repeat, syntactically, grammatically, it is one single sentence, but in terms of semantics, in terms of meaning, this sentence has got three slightly different meanings. So word accent, or word stress or accent, is something that you have to be very careful about. If you are not very careful about putting the accent on the right place, you may be totally mistaken. One brilliant example is object. Object is a noun. The meaning is something very clear. It's an object. And the moment you give the emphasis on the second syllable, object, the meaning is different. The shape is same, the pronunciation is same, the spelling is same, even the pronunciation of the word is same. Transcription, the phonemic transcription of the word is the same, but if you shift the stress from the first syllable to the second syllable, the entire meaning of the word changes. So object, and object are two different words altogether. Object and object are two different words altogether. They're two separate words, even though the spelling remains the same. So I hope you will become aware about, in my last class, I talked about vowels and consonants, and I also talked about how you should look up a dictionary to find out the correct pronunciation of a word, and accent is something very important. You have to become very aware about your accent. Now, one last thing that I would like to discuss in the class is, this is also something related to accent. I just posted this in the group, and it is called intonation. Intonation is also related to word accent, to word stress, but this is slightly different. Intonation is also part of phonetics. What is intonation? It is the change in the rise and fall of voice. The change in the rise and fall of voice or pitch is called intonation. So when you are speaking, when somebody is speaking, the change in the rise and fall of the voice, the change in the rise and fall of pitch is called intonation. Basically, there are two kinds of intonation. Basically, I mean, this is broadly, intonation can be divided into two types. One is the falling intonation, and another is the rising intonation. Let me give you examples. I'm going to the market. This is one example that I use once again. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. So this is with a falling intonation. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. So all declarative sentences or statements made are to be spoken with a falling intonation. Declarative sentences and statements should be spoken with a falling intonation. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. I am now going to give you an example of a rising intonation. Are you going to the market? Are you going to the market? You see, there is a rise. There's a rise of pitch. In the first sentence, I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. There's a fall in the pitch. Because it is a statement, because it is a declarative sentence, it is usually to be spoken with a falling intonation. Rising intonation has to be used when you are speaking, when you are asking a yes-no question, when you are interrogating someone, asking someone about something. Are you going to the market? Are you going to the market? Now, if you just interchange the intonation of these two sentences, you will laugh at yourself. You will see how the funny, it will be funny. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. Now, if I use the same sentence with the rising intonation, it will become funny. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. This is something very funny. Your ears will automatically tell you that you are speaking something wrong. I'm going to the market. I'm going to the market. No. Quite naturally and quite spontaneously, we'll get to know that you are speaking wrong English. Similarly, with the example of a rising intonation, are you going to the market? Are you going to the market? This is the right way of speaking, of asking a question. Are you going to the market? Now, if you utter the same sentence, the second sentence with the falling intonation, it will become very funny. Are you going to the market? Are you going to the market? No, you cannot even speak it. You cannot even do it. So these are broadly the two categories of intonation. One is the falling intonation. Another is the rising intonation. What is intonation? Once again, I repeat, it is a change in the fall, in the rise and fall of voice. It is a change in pitch. That is called intonation. Broadly can be divided into two categories, the falling and the rising. But there are many other patterns of intonation. Now, when you become a specialized student of phonetics, you will get to see, this comes with habit and this comes with practice. There are many other patterns of intonation like falling, rising, rising, falling. In a same sentence, in a very long sentence, sometimes you are falling, sometimes you are rising. There is rise, fall, there is fall, rise. So there can be many combinations. In a single sentence, when you are speaking a sentence in a social context, in a social situation, when you are not aware of grammar, when you are not aware of phonetics and all that, all the theories behind your speaking. So you will speak English accordingly, you will speak the sentence with a combination of rising and falling, falling and rising. There are many combinations possible in intonation. But these are the two broad categories, the falling intonation and the rising intonation. These are the broad categories of intonation, but there could be many other combinations available. It comes naturally. There are many other combinations of intonation in the social situation, in the social context. Now, this was all I wanted to discuss with you in today's class. I discussed about the importance of stress or accent on syllables in English, and how in a continuous sentence, you cannot give equal stress on all the you cannot give equal stress on all the syllables. You have to keep changing, manipulating the stress. Sometimes you have to give more stress on some syllables. Usually nouns, verbs, adjectives, root words take more stress. And usually grammatical words like articles, prepositions do not take stress. That is the usual pattern. That is the usual norm in English. And lastly, I discussed about intonation. Intonation is also slightly related to stress. Intonation is also related to stress in a continuous speech. There are broadly two categories of intonation, falling and rising, but there are many other categories. There are many other subcategories of intonation in rapid speech. Now, this was all I wanted to discuss with you. Now, I have, if you have any questions, anybody, my students, if you have any thing to ask me, you may ask me. Feel free to ask me. Yes, anybody. Welcome.
Sir, can you clarify once again intonation, please? Intonation, please. Intonation.
Yes, intonation
Intonation.
is actually the change. Yes, it is a change in voice, change in pitch. It is a change in pitch. I've given you the link. You can view it from there. It is a change in pitch. For example, I'm giving the same example once again to reinforce my point. I'm going to the market. There's a fall. There is a fall. I'm going to the market. When you are using the same sentence, I mean, if it is made into an interrogative sentence, are you going to the market? Are you going to the market? So it is with the rising intonation. Now, the sentence that I gave, I mean, John loves Ria, that is also a declarative sentence. John loves Ria. That is also a declarative sentence. So that sentence also has to be spoken with a falling intonation. Now, if you make that sentence into an interrogative sentence, does John love Ria? Does John love Ria? It's a intonation, rising intonation. Notice for yourself when you are speaking the sentence, John loves Ria is a declarative sentence, and it has to be spoken with the falling intonation. The same sentence, if you convert it into an interrogative sentence, you're asking somebody, it becomes, you have to speak the sentence with the rising intonation. Does John love Ria? Does John love Ria? A same sentence, that is a declarative sentence, almost always has to be spoken with the falling intonation. And a sentence which is a question, an interrogative question or interrogative sentence, has to be spoken with the rising intonation. There are many variations. Once again, I repeat, there are many variations. There are a lot of combinations possible, because you speak a sentence when you go to a party, when you go to talk with your friends. You are not aware of all this grammar. You are not aware of grammar. You are not aware of phonetics and all that. You speak continuously with your friends. And you keep on manipulating. You keep on changing your pitch. You keep on changing your pitch. You keep on using rising, falling, falling, rising. So many combinations could be possible, are possible. When you speak with your friends English, when you speak in English with your friends in a continuous way, in a social context, you are not aware of all these nitty-gritties of this, all these minute things. You keep on changing the pitch of your voice using both patterns. There are many other patterns, falling, rising, rising, falling. There are many combinations of intonation. I'm just giving you broadly the two main types. One is the falling, another is the rising. These are the two main types of intonation. But there are, in fact, many other patterns, many other subtypes of intonation, which can be demonstrated in a continuous speech. So just do practice. Do practice. I will also give you the name of a book. After the class, I will give you the name of a couple of books which you can refer to if you are interested, if you are really interested to know more about these things. I will give you the list of books, especially made for Indian students. So I will not recommend foreign books. I will not recommend books by foreign authors. I will rather try to give you the name of a book by one Indian gentleman who has worked exhaustively on these topics, accent and intonation both. Yes. Anybody else?
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
What I advise you is that open a dictionary, check the meaning of the word. I mean, usually we look up a dictionary for meaning of the word. Now that you are made aware of the existence of 22 vowels and 24 consonants, try also to read the pronunciation of a word. Whenever you read the meaning of a word, also read the pronunciation of a word. And you should not stop at that. Also read the accent on the word, where you put the accent. Because in any good dictionary, whether it is ALD or COD, there is a marker on a word, like I've given you the list. So pronunciation and accent, they go together. Any good dictionary like COD, they not only give you the pronunciation of a word, they not only phonemically transcribe the word, it's called phonemic transcription. They not only phonemically transcribe a word, but they also put the accent, because accent is very, very, very vital to English. So if you want to be a speaker of English in an international forum, so you have to not only be very fluent with the using the language, you have to be very fluent with English, but you have to also be very careful about your accent, about your intonation, pattern of intonation. So these things are very important. Yes. Anybody else? Yes. If you have any query, anything to ask me regarding today's class, you may ask me. If anybody of you, anybody want to ask me anything about my earlier classes, earlier 2 classes, feel free to ask me. You can also ask me anything about my earlier classes, my former 2 classes, because today I am wrapping up my lectures. I had altogether given 3 lectures on phonetics. So I'm wrapping up today. So if you have any doubt, any query, anything to ask me about my earlier lectures as well, you may ask me. Anybody?
কারোর কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকলে স্যারকে একটু জিজ্ঞেস করে নাও। কারোর কি কোনো প্রশ্ন আছে? 15 তারিখে গত সোমবার যখন আমাদের এই ভাষা উৎসবটি শুরু হয়েছিল, তখন আমরা সবাই একটু চিন্তান্বিত ছিলাম যে এতদিন ধরে একটা ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ লার্নিং এর ক্লাস কিভাবে আমরা চালাবো বা কিভাবে আমরা এটাকে ফ্রেম আউট করব। কিন্তু যেভাবে অনিরুদ্ধদা আমাদের হেল্প করেছেন, তাতে কোনো রকম ধন্যবাদই তার পক্ষে যথেষ্ট নয়। অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ অনিরুদ্ধদা। আপনি কনজিকিউটিভ ভাবে 3টে যে ক্লাস যেভাবে নিলেন এবং আমাদের যেভাবে সমৃদ্ধ করলেন, এটা নিয়ে কোনো ভাষাই বোধহয় যথেষ্ট নয় আপনার প্রশংসার জন্য। অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ আপনাকে। আমাদের এই ভাষা উৎসবের আপনি শেষ বক্তার আগের বক্তা ছিলেন এবং আপনার এই গত 3 দিনের পরিশ্রম আমি আশা করব আমার ছাত্রছাত্রীদের অনেকটা সমৃদ্ধ করবে, অনেকটা ভাষা যাত্রায় এগিয়ে নিয়ে যাবে। অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ অনিরুদ্ধদা।
থ্যাংক ইউ
আমাদের
নীলা, থ্যাংক
পরবর্তী
ইউ।
বক্তা, ধন্যবাদ। আমাদের পরবর্তী বক্তা এবং আমাদের এই 40 ঘন্টা ব্যাপী ভাষা উৎসবের যেটার পোশাকি নাম ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ লার্নিং, সেই উৎসবের শেষ বক্তা যশোবিকা সুব্বা। যশোবিকার সঙ্গে আমাদের ছাত্রছাত্রীরা সবাই পরিচিত, খুব বেশি দিন নয় ও আমাদের সঙ্গে ছিল। তার কিছুদিন আগেই ও আমাদের ছেড়ে অন্য কলেজে জয়েন করে। কাজেই এখানে অনেক ছাত্রছাত্রী আছে যারা যশোবিকার সরাসরি ছাত্র। তো আমরা তাহলে এরপরে যশোবিকাকে ডেকে নেব। যশোবিকা আমাদের আজকের শেষ বক্তা এবং আমাদের এই অনুষ্ঠানেরও শেষ বক্তা। যশোবিকা।
Good afternoon. Am I being audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Can you see the screen?
No, ma'am. No.
Okay. And you cannot see me either, I'm guessing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just hold on. Okay.
Now the screen is visible, ma'am.
Okay. The screen is visible, but I'm not visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
ক্যামেরা রেটে অফ করতে হবে।
Okay. Now?
Now visible, ma'am.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see all of you again. My students, Ninadi, I think Sir just left. Oh, Sir is here. Um, we haven't had a chance to, get acquainted to each other, but I've been hearing your, the lecture that you just gave, and quite an insightful one. I think this, it's very helpful for the students also if they follow it correctly. And today, in, I am sort of uh, experiencing some kind of like technical difficulties, and also the power is like on and off, so in between my wi-fi I might just lose connection with you all, so just bear with me. Am I still audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So the topic for my lecture today is going to be on correspondence competency with reference to writing formal letters. Okay, and for you students, this is one of the most important things, because in future, and from here onwards also, when you are just at the verge of finishing your college, right? So most of you will be appearing for your masters. Most of you will be you'll be going on to look for jobs. So writing formal letters, all right, the etiquette, the mannerism, the style, the format, everything becomes very important to you all. And this has been taught to you all before also, but still, I mean, like, because of so many, let's say, factors, um, it couldn't be done in so much detail as I would be doing it today. And most of the students thinking that they have been doing or writing formal letters since class 5, class 6, it's easy, all right. But the crux, the core of it all, you forget. So this is what I will be trying to brush up with you all today, all right. So beginning, um wait, let me just try to get my PPT started. Okay. In the meantime, as I try to start off with my PPT, just to ask you all, what is your understanding of the words formal and informal? Very simply, not going into any technicalities or any sort of thing. Just very simply, your understanding on what you understand by these two terms. Aragya, would you want to try?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Go on.
Yes, ma'am. For formal letter, I mean to say that if we, when we write a letter to our friends or father and friends, I should say that it should be a formal letter. And if we write, when we write a letter to principal or any business organization members, it would be informal letters.
Okay. And how would you go on to, sort of frame those two sort of letter writing? Do you know the framework? I have
Yes,
taught you
ma'am.
all this before.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, at first when we write the formal letter, we on the left hand side we uh, write um our address, and in the bottom the subject of the letter, and begins with dear friends or dear name of the friends, and then we write part of our rest of the letter subject, and at the end in the right
Okay,
we.
okay. All right. Okay, okay. All right. Just I don't know what's wrong with my PPT. It's not like I'm not being able to present on the screen, but still, when we talk about formal letters, all right, it means you are writing something which is like totally correct, all right, which is done in accordance with some kind of rules and regulations, all right. It's based on some kind of convention, etiquette, something which is of serious concern, something which is officially sanctioned or officially recognized, all right. And when we go on to talk about the informal sort of letter writing, it means, you are relaxed, all right. Uh, you are relaxed, you are friendly, it's in an official sort of manner, and something which is again marked by anything that is unofficial. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. Okay, just hold on. I'm still trying to fix my PPT. I don't know why it's not being I'm not being able to present it on the screen. Just hold on. Give me a second. Please stay with me. All right. Are you being able to see me?
Yes, ma'am. I able to
Okay,
see,
but okay, all right. But the
but not
screen
the
is not
screen.
showing, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, okay. Let me try and fix this. Okay, is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right, so now moving into what are formal letters. Okay, so how would you describe formal letters to be? Now, what we just said a few minutes ago, it's a very simple definition of what a formal letter is. All right, that it should be something official, of some serious matter, having some etiquette, following rules and conventions. But if we are to understand what really formal letters are, all right, so these are a few of the statements that I have written for formal letters. So let's go, and look at it one by one. So first of all, formal letters are undoubtedly one of the most challenging types of letter format. All right. And even though you have been writing it for so many years, you still do it the wrong way. You've never, I mean, like I have seen students who've never been able to get full marks on writing a formal letter. Okay, so that's why we say it to be the most challenging type of letter format. Then, secondly, when you are addressing a person or an organization whom you are not familiar with, that is when you write a formal letter. All right. And formal letters are generally set in their style and physiology. All right. So now, if you notice, I have underlined the word set. Okay. So what this means is there is no deviation. There are no different kinds of formal letters. You have to write a formal letter in a certain style using certain words that are repeatedly used in every kind of formal letter that you write. Okay, so this is what it means when we say that they are generally set in their style and physiology. Okay, and when it comes to writing formal letters, again, there are certain standards which you have to follow as the addresser. If you are writing a letter, you become the addresser. Okay, so you should know and follow certain standards. Then, I mean, you just can't write a formal letter at the top of your hat. You have to at least sort of understand what you are about to write, the problem that you are going to write about. All right, so it takes planning. You have to analyze your audience, meaning you have to know whom you are addressing the letter to. All right, and whenever you are addressing a letter, a formal letter, they are always in a position higher than you. All right, so your language, your manner, the words that you choose to put in your letter has to be in accordance with that. So you have to analyze your audience. You have to determine your purpose. If you want to, make your point, come across strongly, then use words which are firm. All right. But here also you have to remember that there's a very thin line between coming across as being strong and coming across as being rude. Okay. So that you have to keep in mind. And you have to also keep in mind the fact as to how to get your reader's attention. Because after all, you want your problem to be addressed and looked after. So your letter must gain the addressee's attention. Okay. Then the quality of content. This is of great importance because your spelling, your grammar will be scrutinized. Okay. So this also you have to keep in mind. Now, thirdly, the essentials of a formal letter. What are the important things that you have to remember while writing a formal letter? Now, keep your letter as brief as possible. Some of the students will go on writing 2 pages of a formal letter. That is not done. Okay. Nobody will have the time to read line by line what you have written in your formal letter. And always remember that you are addressing it to an unfamiliar person, a person who doesn't know you. So they will not have the time and energy to read your whole story that you have put in like pages and pages of your letter. Okay. So keep your letters as brief as possible. All right. And keep your letters restricted to only 1 or 2 main points. Meaning, address just one problem in a formal letter. All right. Don't write about, if you are going to write about, say, problems in your locality, just address one problem. Water problem, electricity problem, all right, noise pollution in your area. So just one point, one issue. All right. And, if you want to at least, again, add another one, then at the most, maximum 2 points, not more than that. All right. But however, if your topic is complex, all right, if you want to, make your letter talk about a vast series of issues, you are then required to do what? You are required to make a report or a cover letter. All right. And your letter, again, as I repeated in the first statement, should be clear, precise, and complex. Okay. Now, what is, what does it mean to be complex? Complex doesn't mean to add issues after issues after issues, but your sentences must be complex, meaning you just can't write, we have a water scarcity in our area. Okay, you can't just write that sentence. That is a simple sentence. When you want your formal letters should be complex or should have complex sentences, it means that you should be writing a sentence like, since there is a shortage of rainfall this year, our area is undergoing a dearth of water supply. So that when you put two different categories or two different categories of sentences together, that makes it a complex sentence. All right. And having said that, also, you have to remember that all the information must be given. All right. This is very important. All right. All the information must be given, but the unnecessary details should be avoided. Okay, so do not go on to add, like I said, details which would not really catch the reader's attention. So include all the information, all the necessary information, but again, try to deviate from putting too many unnecessary details, or avoid them at all costs. All right. Now, the points that you are going to list while talking about an issue, they are to be listed in a logical sequence, one after another, one after another. So in the first paragraph, do not address one statement about the issue, and then in the second paragraph go on to talk about another issue. All right, so make it come in a logical sequence. Number 1, number 2, number 3, these are the problems we are facing. All right, and use passive voice. All right, when you are writing a formal letter, your reader is not interested in knowing who, let's say there is an electric pole to be fixed. Okay, so when you're writing a formal letter regarding that issue, the reader is not going to be interested in knowing who will come to fix the pole. All right, when the people will come to fix the pole, what instruments or what gadgets they are going to bring with them to fix the pole. He or she, the reader, is only interested in knowing when the pole will be fixed. So that is what your passive voice means. All right. And like I said before, use of complex sentences, and please no use of abbreviated forms. Use the whole word. All right. So, for example, do not just write EG and leave it at that. Use, write the whole thing. Now, these things are only a brush up for you all, because you know all of these things, all right? But still, I don't know, maybe because of the laziness on the student's part or what it is, you tend to skip most of these things there. All right. And that is where you sort of lose your marks while writing a formal letter in your examination, or, when you do not include certain things like the sender's name or, the sender's address, then it makes it very impossible for, the person who you have written to get back to you, because he has no address to whom to send the letter back. Okay, so these are, important things that you should include. The sender's name and address, the return address. If the letter is not accepted, all right? If the letter does not reach the appropriate, to the appropriate person or in the appropriate address, then there should be another address, your address, where the letter has to be returned. So always include the return address there, the date, the receiver's name and address, whom you are writing to, all right? The salutation, meaning, Mr., Mrs., Doctor, so-and-so, all right? The subject, which is the optional part, the valediction or the complimentary closing statement, thanking you, yours sincerely, all right, yours faithfully, yours truly. Those are all, those all come under your valediction or complimentary closing statement. And then your name and signature in full at the end. And then you end your formal letter with notations. Okay. So this is how it should look like. One page, a single page where you will have your sender's name and address, the date, the receiver's name and address, whom you are addressing to, writing to, the salutation, the subject, the valediction complimentary closing statement, followed by the sender's name and signature, yours, all right, and then notations. Now, this we will be looking at one by one. Okay, now first, under the address, what are you going to be writing there? Now here, both the senders, meaning yours, and the receivers, meaning whom you are writing to, both the addresses are to be mentioned. Okay, first you will write your name, your address, and the person to whom you are writing, his or her address. Okay, then when you are doing that, you mention the first and the family names both. All right, followed by the house number, street, place, area code, and the country if you are sending it abroad. All right, now one thing that you have to remember is when you are writing a country's name, the whole thing should be in capital. The country's name should be written in capital letters. Okay, and when you are writing the sender's or the receiver's addresses, no punctuation marks whatsoever. So there'll be no comma, no full stop, no semicolon, nothing in the addresses. All right, then the first letter of each word is to be capitalized. All right, then the name of the country is to be written in capital letters. And if you are writing it to a company's representative state, the designation and the name of the company is to be mentioned after the receiver's name. So let's say, Mr. John Brown, all right, then you will follow it by the company's name, let's say, Apple Inc., and then you will follow it by the designation, the managing director, and so on. Okay, so it will follow in that manner. Then if you are writing into some, multinational companies, do some research. All right, do some research and find out the department or the person who can help you with your issue. All right, or who can help you with the issue if you are writing a complaint letter. If you are looking for a job, then find out who the hiring person is, so you can at least write or address to him personally. All right, so it's always advisable to find out his or her name, designation, and the mailing address. Okay, and then like I said, the return address is a must. Provide your email or your phone number. All right, now this is completely optional in when you are writing it. All right, but when you are sending it through email, your phone number becomes important. All right, your email address will already be there. Your phone number becomes important there. Okay, then then followed by the date. Now when you are writing your date, there are two formats to be considered: the UK format, which we follow, all right, the British format, which we follow, which has the date followed by the month, followed by the year. Okay, that is the UK format or the Indian format that we follow. Then you have another format, the US format, which will have your month before, followed by the date and the year. All right. Now, the date, what you have to remember here is the date is to be written in full format, meaning the month is to be written as a word. So for May, do not write 05. Write the whole name of the month. All right. Then sometimes what happens is, if you begin to write your letter today, you might finish it the day after. Okay. So, we are left in a confusion as to which date to put. So remember here that you use the date when you have actually finished writing the letter. Okay. Simple enough, I guess. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
then we come to the salutation part. Now here, there are several things you have to remember. Okay, now if you know the name of the person to whom you are addressing the letter, okay, if you know the person to whom you would be writing the letter to, you can address it, or you can use salutations like Mr., Mrs. I mean, please, there are, it is allowed in formal letters to write dear also, but I would advise you to avoid using, dear and, words like these. Okay, so just use Mr., Mrs., Miss, or MS for a female whose status is unknown. You don't know whether she is married or not, or if she prefers to keep it to keep her status unknown. All right. So if a lady does not want you to know whether she is married or not, then just use the salutation MS. All right. Then these above titles are to be followed both by their first and their family name. So like I said, when you're writing the address, all right, you have the salutation, Mr. So and so. So you have to have the first name and the last name or the family name both mentioned there. This is in the case of, of a letter you are writing to whom you know. If you know the person, all right. Then if you do not know the name of the person, how would you address? So here you would address it by writing dear sir or madam. All right, like I said, avoid using dear sir and madam. So you can just mention sir or madam, and also you could write to whom it may concern. Okay, now if you are unsure of the receiver's gender, you don't know whom you are writing to, whether a male or a female, then simply type the whole name. It's the safest way. Just simply type his or her full name. All right. Now, if the contact name is unknown, if you have read about some advertisement where the job description is given, but you don't know whom to contact, all right. I mean, like you will see that in most advertisements, the job description is given, we are hiring. So we are looking for these kind of people. The job description is given there, but you don't know whom to contact. Okay. So in this case, you use a very generic salutation, a very general salutation, such as dear hiring manager, or dear recruiting manager, or dear human resources professional, whichever is applicable. All right, so this is the this is for salutation. Now when you come to the subject part, like I said before, this is a completely optional element. You can include, if you wish not to, that's also fine. It will not, if you, in terms of your examination, it will not make you lose marks, because it's a completely optional element there. All right. Now, but the positive point of writing the subject is the reader will immediately know what your letter is about. Okay. So your, he or she doesn't have to read the whole letter for him to understand what you are trying to get at. So if you write the subject, stating what your letter is going to be about, he will know the contents of your letter immediately. All right. And when you write your subject, make it bold, make it uppercase, meaning write in capital letters, or you can write it in both, which will again help it to stand, which will help the subject to stand out more. Then moving on to the valediction part. All right, valediction meaning the complimentary closing remark. All right. Now, if the name of the addressee is known, if you know the person whom you've written the letter to, then you can simply write yours sincerely. All right. If if the name of the addressee is again unknown, all right, you would write yours faithfully there. So yours sincerely in the case where you know who you are writing the letter to. And if you don't know whom you are writing the letter to, then use yours faithfully. All right. Now, there are other valedictions, complimentary closing remarks that have been used, like regards, kind regards, with best regards. All right. Now, these valedictions are used when you know, again, the addressee of the letter, if you know the person whom you are writing the letter to. All right. And when you write, when you use these words as your closing remarks, it sort of conveys a warm and a caring tone. All right. And, obviously you would want to convey a warm and caring tone to a person you know. All right. So it will either be yours sincerely. All right. And if you know that person again too well, then you could end it with regards, kind regards, or best regards. Okay. Now, in case of you writing a letter to persons who are in higher authority, such as judges, officials, dignitaries, or professors, then use these. All right. Respectfully or respectfully yours. All right. And if you are, for you all, you'll all be writing your letter to people who are higher in status, right? So in that case, you will use very truly yours or truly yours. Okay? Clear till here? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right. So now moving on, we come to the notation part, the very end. Okay. Now this is also an optional element. Now, I think in invitations where you have been invited to a marriage ceremony or to a marriage reception, you have seen these 4 letters RSVP written there. Right. Now, this is a French word. I don't know whether this is the correct pronunciation of RSVP, but in French it's called Répondez s'il vous plaît, okay, which in English translates to please reply. Okay, and you will find these written at the very end of the letter. Now, here the sender expects the receiver to contact the writer with either a yes or a no response. Don't give the whole story, just yes or no, whether you'll be attending or whether you'll not be attending. So when you see these 4 letters there, which means please reply, you are to reply with either a yes or a no, simply yes or a no. All right. Then sometimes in formal letters, you will also get to see these short forms written, ENCL or ENC, okay, which means enclosures. Okay, now when you are attaching your resume, your brochure, the additional qualifications, you will attach it after you have written the formal letter. Okay, and just when you have finished with your closing remark, then you will include your you will include writing this ENCL or ENC. So if you have written this, then the reader will know that he is to look at the the certificates or the documents that you have attached with the cover letter. Okay, and sometimes you might find CC written there, okay, which means carbon copy or courtesy copy. Now, if you have written a letter and you want to send the same letter to different, let's say, different people, right, to, different places, to different offices. So in that case, you will write these two letters, CC, okay, which means that you have sent the same copy of the letter to other people also, and you will follow the CC by writing the name of the other people or the names of the offices that you have sent the letter to. Are we clear on this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then next we move on to the layout. This is, I mean, you have the indented layout also. Okay, that is the older version of how you used to write a formal letter. This is the new standard form where you are supposed to write your formal letters in. Okay, so see, if you can look at the screen, you will see that everything is on the left side. Here, this is the block format. This is the most simplest and the most acceptable one. Okay, the text, it's all left adjusted. The text is supposed to be single spaced with no indent. No indent meaning you are not supposed to leave I don't know, in school days we used to call it like leaving a margin, all right, a margin space. So do not start your letter here, and even when you are writing your second paragraph, do not start. Can you see this cursor?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay,
Visible.
so do not start your letter here. Start everything on your left hand side here. Okay, so this is what your block format should look like. All right, and they the font that you are supposed to use is the Times New Roman in size 12. Okay, now this is another form of writing a formal letter in block style, where you will have your date, all right, and the company information here, written here, all right. Then you will have the addressee's address here, all right. You will have your salutation here. Then you will begin your first paragraph here, and your second paragraph here, your closing remarks here, the valedictory part. Okay, so here also you will see, even though, all right, your closing valediction, your closing remark, and the date and everything else is written on the right side, you will see that there are no indents, meaning all the all the lines begin in the same line here. You will see no indent, you will see no spacing here. So this is how it's supposed to be. But if you find, I mean, like, most people would avoid this, all right? And I would also advise you to use this format. This is the most accepted one. Then, next, after this, we come to, the language part, where when you are writing, these are, the types of letters that most of you will be asked to write, all right? Most of you will be writing in the future, Okay, so I have chosen a few of these for you to look at and understand the kind of language you are supposed to be using in these types of letters. Okay, so the first one is letters of complaint. If you're writing a letter of complaint, how or what should the language be, all right, the type of language, the type of words that you should be using. Now, when you begin, all right, the opening remarks of these sort of complaint letters should begin with statements like, I'm writing to complain about, all right, I'm writing regarding so and so, I'm writing on account of, and or I am writing because of this, I am writing on the subject of so and so. So these would be your opening remarks. Either this, all right, I've given a few others also, or you can write it as begin with, I am writing to draw your attention to so and so problem in my area. All right, I'm writing in connection with so and so problem which has been going on for a very long time in my locality. All right, or it could be something like, I'm writing to express my strong like I said, if you want yourself to be heard, use strong words but not rude words. Okay, so that would be something like this. I'm writing to express my strong dissatisfaction with things that has been going on in the night in our locality. Okay, so your letters of complaint, the opening remarks should look something like this. You should start with statements like these. All right, the useful phrases regarding letters of complaint. All right, it could be you could include sentences like, I was very disappointed to find that things have not been going on too well in my locality, and so on. All right, I should have been informed about this or that. I hope you will understand that I was very disappointed to find out that such misdemeanor had been going on. Or it could be something like, to make matters worse, all right, I found out very late that things have been not going on well in my locality. So these are the useful phrases which you can include while writing your paragraphs. Okay, then the linking words. If you are linking one sentence with the other or one issue with the other, all right, like I said, if you want to include 2 points, first of all, it has to be in a logical sequence, all right, and if you are to do that, how would you link those two sentences? Okay, and so how would you do that? You would use phrases like, even though. I said, in the beginning, if you remember, I said that it has a set of words and phraseology that a formal letter uses. Okay, so these are the ones. You have to use even though words like even though, words like however, words like furthermore, firstly, finally, etc. These are useful words, linking words. Okay, and your closing remarks or your closing statements should be something like, I would like to hear your explanation regarding the problems mentioned. Okay, I would therefore be grateful if you could give me a full refund if you did not like whatever you have bought, or if that machine or if the gadget didn't work according to your necessity. If you wanted a refund, you could use these sort of sentences. Okay, I hope or assume you will replace the phone that I recently bought from your shop or from your company. All right, or I trust that the situation will improve. I hope that the matter will be resolved. I hope that I will not be forced to take further action regarding this matter. I look forward to hearing your early reply, or I look forward to receiving a prompt reply. So this could be your closing remarks that you would put right before you put your valediction part. your complimentary closing remark. Okay?
Okay, then.
Then, useful language for letters of invitation. Okay, same thing here. Opening remarks. We would be honored if you, I mean, as students, you are, all the time inviting your teachers, your officer in charge, your seniors to attend some kind of function or the other. All right. So it's going to be useful for you in that manner. So when you put your, when you are opening your letter, use these remarks or statements. We would be honored if you, I would cordially invite you to, your presence would be appreciated at, or you are simply invited to attend. That would be your opening remarks. All right. And then when you come to the closing remarks, it would be something like, we would be grateful if you could, or please indicate whether you will be able to attend or not. All right. Now, sometimes what happens is when, you are inviting somebody from outside who doesn't know the exact place of your marriage hall or your college, all right, you could then offer to give some directions. If I may give you some directions, or I have included some directions in case you do not know the direction to our locality or to our college or to our place or to our campus, whichever is suitable. Okay. Then when you are accepting an invitation, okay, when you accept an invitation from somebody, you write back saying, I'm writing to thank you for the kind invitation. Thank you for the kind invitation, which I would be honored to accept. I look forward to seeing you, or we wait the event with great anticipation. Sentences like these. All right. Now, if you are refusing the invitation, then you would include statements like, we thank you for your invitation, but regretfully inform you that we would not be able to make it. All right. Or I'm sorry to miss the opportunity of being together with you on so and so occasion. All right. Or I hope we will have the opportunity to meet again some other time in future, when you are refusing an invitation. Then for you all, again, this is supposed to be, I think this will be very useful. Okay. And this is the useful language for letters of application for a job. Now let's go to the opening remarks. So here you could write, I'm writing to apply for the post of so and so and so. All right. I'm writing to apply for the position of, or I'm writing with regard to, or which I saw advertised, in so and so paper. Then you could also write, I'm writing with regard to your advertisement that you had given on, so and so paper dated so and so date. Okay. I'm writing in response to your advertisement. So the opening remarks, you can start your letter by using these sentences. All right. Then if you want to make a reference to your past experience, if you want to show, your, the company that you have, if you've had some experience in the past, then you could, write, for the past year, I have been working as so-and-so thing, or since the last, since the past few years, I had been working, or for, the couple of years, for the last couple of years, I had been working. All right. Or you can also write it as, I have had experience of so many years in the same field. All right. Or I have worked as so and so before I applied for this particular job. Okay. So this is how you make reference to your past experience. Then when you close your formal letter, all right, your letter of application, Then you will include statements like, I would appreciate a reply at your earliest convenience. I will enclose my CV and I would be glad to attend an interview at any time convenient to you, or I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, so this could be Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Is it too late, Aragya? Because I see everybody leaving.
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Anyways, then we come to some important linking words and phrases. Okay, these are also phrases which you would link two sentences or two issues with. Okay, so here, if you are expressing your personal opinion, okay, if you want to express, what you feel, you would, you can start it off by writing, in my opinion, or in my view, or personally, I believe that, all right, or I feel very strongly that, this is not supposed to be done, all right. I am inclined to believe that. It seems to me that whatever is happening around is not showing a very good sign, or as far as I am concerned. So this is how you would give your personal opinion in a formal letter. Okay. Now, if you are listing the advantages and disadvantages of certain things in your formal letter, okay, then you would use words and phrases like one advantage of, another advantage of, one other advantage of, a further advantage of. So these are the kind of linking words and phrases that you would use in a formal letter. Okay. And if you look further down in the, in the slide, you will see that I have again mentioned, if you are to list important points in your formal letter, all right, the words and phrases that you would use, all right. If you want to list points in a specific sequence, 1, 2, 3, or which is more important, that issue being the first followed by the next, how you would do. The beginning part would be something like to start with or to begin with. Okay, then continuing with it, you would use words and phrases like secondly, or after this, or then, or next. And when you come to the last issue, you would write it as finally, or lastly, or last but not the least. Okay, so these linking words and phrases becomes very important to you, because sometimes while writing formal letters, most of the students are out of vocabulary. They don't know how to link two issues together. All right, how to make the paragraphs appear in a logical sequence. So these are going to help you out. These words and phrases are going to help you out. So that's why I have used the term linking words and phrases. Okay, then I have added some more, if you can see on the next slide, to add more points on the same topic. All right, if you want to add more details on the same issue, these are the words and phrases you'd be using. What is more, furthermore, apart from this or apart from that, in addition to, moreover, besides this, or besides the topic that I've just mentioned, besides the issue that I've just mentioned, all right, or not to mention the fact that there is another problem, which is again, which is of the same importance, So you could use, these words and phrases if you want to add more details on the same issue. All right. Now, if you are wanting to refer to other sources, okay, you would use again words and phrases like with reference to, or according to the article in yesterday's paper. So you are referencing yesterday's paper, all right, in your letter that you are going to be writing. Okay. Now, to express cause, these are the, this is the type of, let's say, words that you would use. Okay. Now, I have, if you can see the last one, the last phrase, owing to the scheme, all right, is likely to fail. For this reason, the government has decided not to fund it or redesign it. So this is the cause as to why the government has decided not to pull in more money there or redesign it. Okay, because the scheme is likely to fail. So that is the way you express a cause. Owing to the scheme which is likely to fail, for this reason, the government has decided not to fund it or redesign it. So this way you are going to be expressing your cause. Okay. Now, when time comes for you to express the effect part, okay, you would again include these words. He passed his exams, thus he will be moving on to the next class. Or he passed his exams, therefore he will be moving to another city. He passed his exams, so he will be moving to another city. He passed his exams, so consequently, he will be moving to another city. He passed his exams, as a result of which he will be moving to another city. All right. He passed his exams, as a consequence, he will be moving to another city. He passed his exams, as a result of which he will be moving to another city. So these are the various words and phrases as to how you would express the effect. Cause and effect part. Okay. Now, if you want to emphasize, okay, your point, if you want your reader's attention, you would include these words clearly, obviously, of course, needless to say. When you want to, express reality, you would include words like it is a fact, in effect, in fact, as a matter of. All right. So as you can see, I have given, words and phrases to things that would be useful for writing a formal letter. If you want to emphasize what you want to say, if you want to express the reality of the situation, all right, this will be helpful while writing a complaint letter. If you want to express the difference between appearance and reality, okay, if you want to give examples, you would write, if you would include a phrase like, for instance, all right. If you want to make general statements, you would include phrases like, as a general rule, or generally, in general, on the whole. Okay. If you want to make partially correct statements, you would use words or phrases like up to a point, to a certain extent, to some extent, in a sense, or in a way. Okay, so it will sound something like, up to a certain point, this is true, as women in society are far less likely to use physical violence than men. Or take the example of another phrase. To a certain extent, this is true, as women in society are far less likely to use physical violence than men. Then another, try with another. To some extent, this is true, as women in a society are far less likely to use physical violence than men. So here you are partially making correct statements. And when you do that, you use these phrases. Okay. Then, if you have limited knowledge about certain things or certain issues, which most of you at your age, seem to have, all right? So it's best if you include these words or phrases there. To the best of my knowledge, this is all I can provide. All right. To the best of my knowledge, this is all that I know. This is the information that I know. Or you can also write it as far as I know, this has happened, but I'm not really sure. So it makes the reader understand that you have only limited knowledge about the issue that you are addressing. Okay. Then if you look down, I have given again certain words and phrases to state other people's opinion. All right. If you want to make contrasting points, what are the words and phrases to be used? And lastly, if you want to express balance, if you want to make the argument seem balanced, all right, the right and the wrong to be balancing each other, these are the words and phrases that you use. Okay. Then moving on, if you want to clarify, okay, say suppose you have made if you've stated something untrue, okay, and if you want to clarify that or rephrase it somehow, then you would use words and phrases like, in other words, all right, or that is to say, or to put it in another way, okay, or if the last one, if you can see, I have given it in a full sentence. If you're trying to rephrase, that if you're trying to rephrase or clarify something that you've said earlier, okay. To put in another way, if people made more of an effort to protect the environment, the world would be a much healthier place to live in. Okay. So let's say in your first paragraph, you had just written, if people made an effort to protect the environment, we would be living in a better world. Okay, say you had included that sentence in your first paragraph. And if you want to clarify that same statement in your second paragraph, or if you want to rephrase it a little later, then you would write it as this. Okay, to put in another way, or in other words, or that is to say, if people made more of an effort to protect the environment, the world would be a much healthier place to live in. And finally, we come to the pointers part. Okay, now I have listed these points here for you to be able to for you to take notice of, be aware of, keep in your mind as to when you write a formal letter. Always keep these points in your mind when you write a formal letter. Okay, this is sort of a summary of whatever we've talked about in this lecture. Okay, and I have sort of like made it short for you so that you all can remember. All right, and these are important points for you to remember while writing a formal letter. So number one would be research the background of the company. Find out more about the company. Just don't rely on the advertisement that you have read in some paper. Look up, find about what are the areas the company is good at, what are the things it produces, what are the job profiles it brings out. All right, so research the background of the company, and also familiarize yourself with what is expected of you. If you are applying for a job, you should be fully aware, you should be familiar with what is expected of you. All right, just don't stop at I'm qualified for that job, so I want to apply for it. Familiarize yourself with the job description. Okay, that is the first thing. Secondly, be sure to find out the name of the individual who does the hiring. And when you do that, what it does is it makes it easier for you to write the letter because you know the name of the person. Okay, it makes it easier while writing the salutation. Okay, I had mentioned earlier that if you don't know the name of the addressee, you can just write it as to whom it may concern. All right, that is correct. That is correct. All right, but what it does is it will make you seem lazy. It will seem, you not being interested enough for the job. All right, you not being able to find out who the hiring person is, you not being aware of the job profile, you not being aware of the of the company in totality. Okay, so it will seem laziness and rudeness on your part more than anything else. All right. Thirdly, try not to start the first sentence with the letter I. Okay. What you could do is you could start with explaining what prompted your inquiry. All right. What made you write the letter? So you could write, it as, because of the advertisement that you had seen in the paper. All right, or a media article, or you being referred from an employee of the same company, you had chosen to write a letter of inquiry into the company. All right, and then do not forget to mention your qualifications with specific examples. All right, what you have, what qualifications you have. Your documents will come as enclosures after the after the formal letter, but mention your qualifications with specific examples. Do not forget to mention why you would be an asset to the company. Don't feel shy to write about your strengths. Okay, so do mention why you would be an asset to the company. And you also mention your added credentials as an enclosure. If you've done something else apart from the educational qualifications that you have had, please put it as an enclosure. All right. And in the final paragraph, remember to thank the individual for his or her time in considering your application. It's the etiquette of a formal letter. Thank him or her. Okay. And also remember to indicate a precise time when you will initiate a contact for any further information. So do not wait for the hiring person or the addressee or the reader to send you back send you back a letter saying, you have been hired for so and so job. All right, you will wait for the the letter, but in your own way, please mention as to when you will try and make a contact with the company or with the hiring person. So, just mention that, I will get back to you after a few days. All right, or I will get back to you on so and so day, so and so time. All right, and make sure to let the individual know how to contact you also. So include your address, include your email, include your number. That is how they will get back to you if you have been considered for the job. Then an email is to be sent in the same block format, okay, but without the heading. So it will not have your return address. It will have their address and the date. So if whatever we have discussed so far is when you write a formal letter in a piece of paper, okay. But when you are writing an email, when you're writing a formal letter through email, All right, it will be sent in the same block format that we discussed, meaning it will all be left assigned with no indentation. All right, with Times New Roman number 12 font. Okay, it will all be the same block format, but without the heading, meaning it will not have your return address. It will not have their address also, and it will not have the date. So this is also important because now, technology has made it such that we are writing or sending emails to everybody these days. We do not use, pen and paper any longer. All right. So this is important for you to remember here. And again, this is the same for the email also. Keep your letter precise and short, no more than a single page. Okay. So this is how you write formal letter in your email. And with this, we come to the end of our discussion today, or the lecture on correspondence competency with reference to writing formal letters.
থ্যাংক ইউ Yashovika। আমরা আমাদের এই এক সপ্তাহব্যাপী ভাষা উৎসবের শেষ লগ্নে এসে পৌঁছেছি। আমি ছাত্রছাত্রীদের কাছে যদি কিছু প্রশ্ন থাকে তাহলে তারা করতে পারে, আর না হলে আমরা এই অনুষ্ঠানটি এখানে শেষ করব। কারোর কি কিছু প্রশ্ন আছে?
Please ask.
কারোর যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন না থাকে তাহলে আমরা আমাদের অনুষ্ঠানটা শেষ করছি। আমি ধন্যবাদ প্রথমে জানাতে চাই যশোবিকাকে একবার বলার পর যশোবিকা যে আমাদের এখানে আজকাল আর পড়ায় না বা আমাদের স্টাফ রুমে বসে না, এটাই এখনো আমাদের হৃদয়ে সেই বোধটা তৈরি হয়নি। ফলে যখনই আমাকে আমাদের অফিসার ইনচার্জ এই প্রোগ্রামটা করতে বললেন, তখন প্রথম আমার যশোবিকা সুনিতার নামটাই মাথায় এসেছিল। কারণ আমরা জানি আমরা তিনজনের একটা টিম হিসেবে অনেক বড় বড় কাজ করেছি APCR গত 7-8 বছরে। তো সেই কারণে প্রথম যশোবিকা আর সুনিতার নামটাই আমার মাথায় আসে, এবং ওদের কাছে অ্যাপ্রোচ করা আলাদা কিছু নয়, কারণ ওরা আমার ফ্যামিলি, এক্সটেন্ডেড ফ্যামিলি বলতে পারি আমি। কাজেই সেই ফ্যামিলি মেম্বারের কাছেই আমি প্রথম গেছিলাম যে আমাকে এই প্রোগ্রামটা করতে হবে, তোরা আমাকে একটু স্পিচ দিয়ে দিস, কারণ আমি একা বা আমাদের ডিপার্টমেন্টাল কলিগদের সবাই পক্ষে সম্ভবপর নয়। সে কারণে আমার একবার বলাতেই ওরা যেভাবে রাজি হয়ে গেছিল এবং যেভাবে আমাকে সাপোর্ট করেছে ওরা 4 জন, তার জন্য অনেক ধন্যবাদ যশোবিকা, সুনিতা এবং গভর্নমেন্ট কলেজের ইংলিশের ফ্যাকাল্টিদের। আর আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাবো আমাদের ওয়াইসি স্যারকে আমাকে এই গুরু দায়িত্বটা দেওয়ার জন্য। আশা করি আমি কাজটি সফলভাবে সম্পূর্ণ করতে পেরেছি। আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাবো আমাদের IQACর কোঅর্ডিনেটর কার্তিক চন্দ্র দেকে, তিনিও আমার উপরে ভরসা করেছিলেন। আমার মনে হয় এই কাজটা মোটামুটি একটা একটুখানি ঠিকঠাক মতনই আমরা সবাই মিলে সম্পন্ন করতে পেরেছি। আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাবো আমার বিভাগীয় সহকর্মীদের, আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাবো আমার ইংরেজি বিভাগের 3 জন সহকর্মীকে। তাদের সহৃদয় সহযোগিতা ছাড়া আমার পক্ষে এই অনুষ্ঠান চালিয়ে নিয়ে যাওয়া সম্ভবপর ছিল না। অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে, এবং সেই সঙ্গে আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাবো আমাদের ছাত্রদের, বিশেষ করে অর্ঘ্যকে। অর্ঘ্য যেভাবে প্রথম দিন থেকে আমাদের অনুষ্ঠানটার মধ্যে ছিল এবং যেভাবে প্রত্যেক দিন অনুষ্ঠানটার সঙ্গে প্রতিনিয়ত 3 ঘন্টার পর ঘন্টা যুক্ত ছিল, তাতে আমার মনে হয়েছে যে অর্ঘ্যকে প্রথম সার্টিফিকেটটা আমরা অর্ঘ্যকেই দেব। ঠিক আছে, ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে অনেক ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে আমি আমার অনুষ্ঠান শেষ করছি। ধন্যবাদ যশোবিকা, ধন্যবাদ অনিরুদ্ধদা, ধন্যবাদ অর্ঘ্য এবং সেঞ্চুরিকে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you, ma'am.